Guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Timmy Kemza James. For our new and old subscribers, you're all welcome to today's tutorial where I'm going to be showing you how to make this really beautiful t-shirt dress, which you can use in a beach or for a picnic or anything of your choice, right? So guys, this dress is really giving me that Miami beach vibe with some coconut water and feeling all cute, right? So I just went ahead to pair it with leggings, right? And guys, look at this, it's so beautiful, right? So I'm going to be showing you how to make this dress. So if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, I don't know what you're waiting for. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and also hit the notification bell so you get notified whenever I have a new video up on the channel, right? And if you're not yet following me on all my social media platforms, do ensure to follow me. Somatize on Instagram and on Facebook, right? That's my business page, Somatize, and my personal page. You can also follow me, Timmy Kemza James, on Instagram and on Facebook, right? So guys, without further ado, let's get into sewing. So guys, I'm going to start. I ended up folding it in 4, so I'm just going to mark a straight line on this side where I'm going to start drafting from, right? So because it's a t-shirt dress, it's not going to have like a lot of fitting and shaping and all that. I'm not even going to be adding any dart, so which will make my job really easy here, right? So I'm going to insert half of my shoulder measurement on this line. This line is my starting point, right? So on that point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch, right? Then I'll mark my neckline, which is 3 inches by 3 inches, right? Now I'm going to mark 1 inch here as well for the back neckline, since I'm cutting both the front and the back at the same time, right? So from here, I'm going to connect my 1 inch to these 3 inches here, which I marked for my neckline. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect that point like so, right? So from this point, which is my shoulder point, right, I'm going to come down by 8.5, which is going to be my armhole line. So I'll measure what I have from the starting point to this point is a total of 9.5 because I came down by 1 inch here. So I'm going to mark 9.5 here like this. Then I'll mark 9.5 on this side as well. I just want to get it to connect together, right? So I'm just going to square out these lines like so. By so doing, I have my armhole line. Then I'm going to mark half of my shoulder line on that armhole just to enable me square out this line. So I'm just going to go ahead and square out the line, right? So for my neckline, I want a total of 3.5 inches. So I have 3 inches here. So on the shoulder slant, I'm going to add another half of an inch here, right? So I'm going to connect that point. So on this point, I'm going to connect the half inch to this 1 inch that I came down for the back neckline. So I'll just go ahead and connect it like so. Then I'm going to connect as well so that by the time I'm done, I'll know where my front neckline is. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect this one like so for my front neckline, right? So I'm going to be marking quarter of my bust measurement on this point, right? So the quarter of my bust measurement, I'm going to be adding half of an inch for ease. I don't want the t-shirt to be too tight on my bust, so it's a quarter of my bust measurement plus half of an inch. Then I'm going to be adding another half of an inch for sewing allowance, right? So I'm marking it there. So I'm going to mark the distance from my waist, from my shoulder to my waist, right? So I'm going to mark that point like so. then I'll mark it all round as well. Then I'll square out the line, right? So I'm going to mark a quarter of my waist measurement there, plus 1 inch for ease, plus half an inch sewing allowance. So now I'm going to be marking the distance from my shoulder to my hip line as well, right? Then on that point, let me just go ahead and rule out the waist side. Then I rule out the hip line as well. So on the hip line, I'm going to be inserting half of my hip measurement, a quarter of my hip measurement as well, plus half inch for ease and half inch sewing allowance, right? So from that point, I'm going to be connecting. Now I'll connect my bust to my waist, right? Then I connect it to my hip. Then from the hip point, I'm going to go ahead and connect it as a straight line, like so, till the hem. So I extended it down to the hem. That's from the hip line, is straight down to the hem. As a matter of fact, you can pencil it out depending on what you want to see, right? Then I'm going to come back to the upper side here so you can see what I'm doing, right? So I'm going to make my armhole curve, which I will be finding half of my armhole line from this shoulder slant to this point that we marked 8.5, which is our armhole line. So I'm going to find half of that point, then I'll be connecting it. I'll be making a curve till this point. That's excluding the sewing allowance. So I'm just making a curve around there, right? So this is it. I'm going to just go ahead and cut this out, but I'm cutting the back neckline. I'm not cutting the front neckline yet. Until I'm done cutting, I'll move the back piece, then I'll cut out the front piece, right? So I'm just going to start from the here we go. Now I'm going to move the back side. The inner one will serve as the back piece, so I'm just going to move that aside, then lay back my print, right? I'll lay it back nicely and cut out my front piece. So I have my back and my front piece together, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and cut out my sleeve pattern now. So for the sleeve, I'm just going to measure the sleeve length, right? So plus the hemming allowance of the sleeve, I'm going to make it 11 inches. So I'm going to mark 11 inches here and another 11 inches here, right? So I'll just connect these points. You can see I'm even marking it and the lining is stretching. So I'll mark my cap's height. I have an intensive sleeve video which I'm going to be linking in the description box. So if you do not know how to draft a sleeve pattern, go ahead and watch that video, right? Now I'm going to be marking my biceps line plus half of an inch or 1 inch sewing allowance. Then I'm just going to be making the curve. I'm just sewing this by free hands, guys. Ordinarily I will use my curves, but this time around I'm just cutting freehand. So So I'm going ahead to cut. So this is it. So I'll cut the second sleeve off camera, then I'll cut my collar, or sorry, the side I will use to be piping my neck. I'll cut it and I'll show you. So guys, here are all my patterns, my front and back pattern, my sleeve patterns. Then for this pattern, I just went ahead and folded it in half, and then I measured out around 2 inches wide, which I might end up making it 1.5, guys, right? So by the time you open it, it's actually 4 inches. So, and then the length is actually my neck round measurement on my dress. The neck round, that's both the front and the back, minus the sewing allowance for the shoulder side, is what I measured for the length that I have here, right? So I'm going to be minusing 1 inch from the total measurement so that the neck can sit nice and snug on me, right? So this is what I have here, and I have this piece left over, so I'm going to end up using it to make a nice scarf for myself. So let's just get into it, guys. I might show you how I ended up making this scarf, right? So let's go to for the sewing now. Let's get into the sewing. So guys, for my sewing, I'm just going to go ahead and match my front and back piece like this. Then I'll sew the shoulder like so, right? Then I'll come back and fix the sleeve. I'll show you how I'll be fixing the sleeve. I'm just going ahead to join the shoulder of the front and the back together. Then I went ahead to overlock all my raw edges on the dress, that's including the armhole, the side seams and all, right? So by the time I'm done doing that, this is what I have. So on the shoulder now, I'm grabbing the sleeve, find the midpoint of the cap sleeve, the sleeve cap, and then I'm just going to notch it and pin down that midpoint to the shoulder line, right? Then I'm going to sew. Guys, I'm using my overlocker. If you don't have an overlocker, you can just go ahead and use your regular machine. Then you take it to be overlocked later if your fabric frays. But if it doesn't fray, that's fine, right? So by the time I'm done sewing this side, remember I started sewing from the midpoint, so I'm just going to flip it to the other side and sew the other side of the sleeve, right? Then when I'm done, I'll just go ahead and sew the second sleeve, just like I did to the first one off camera. And then this is what the sleeve is looking like, right? So on the hem of the sleeve, you can see I'm just grabbing the hem, and then I'm going to be sewing from the hem. I'm joining the both sides of the hem of the sleeve, and I'm sewing from there to the armhole to the side of the bodies, and I'm stopping somewhere below my affluence point or below my waistline, right? Now if you want it to be a dress, you can go ahead and extend that sewing till close to the hem or wherever you want your slit to be, but I want mine to be sort of like a top, so that's why I'm stopping the hem there. I went ahead to do the second side, and then for the neck collar, I'm just going to fold that fabric in half and just sew round that side. I'm just going to sew that side to get a rounded shape, right? Then I went ahead to fold it in half and I overlocked it round, right? I hope you understand what I mean. After sewing it, I have a rounded shape, right? So I folded it in half and overlocked it. Then I'm going to tuck in the side. Then the sewing side is going to be on the center back, that's the seam line on the neckline, right? Then I'm going to match it on my neck, pin it down, and then I'm going to sew round so what I'm doing is I'm joining the neckline, which is still a raw edge, to that point, right? Then you make sure you remember that we have it shorter than our neckline, so you stretch
the collar as you're going ahead to sew the neckline, right? So you try to stretch it. When I was done, I went ahead to hem my sleeve and the bottom of my dress or top on my straight sewing machine. So I just went ahead to do that off camera. So after that, you are done. And I also went ahead to make my sleeve, to overlock my sleeve and also to hem it, right? So this is what the dress looks like now, right? So guys, this is the finished look of the dress. You can see how beautiful it looks. This is what it looks like on the back side of the dress, right? And then this is the side. The slit is quite nice, right? And then I used 2 yards of fabric for this tutorial, so I have the extra one that's remaining is what I'm using for my scarf. So I just went ahead to cut it nicely, and I weaved the edges, or overlocked the edges, guys. That's what I'm using as my scarf, right? So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, share this video with your friends, subscribe and hit the notification bell to be the first to get notified whenever I have a new video up on the channel. See you in my next video, guys. Bye.